The small cottage house looked the same as it had the day Jeremiah left, the white paint on the trim peeling, the flower beds gone wild. The porch light burned out. He stood on the cracked walkway, with his hands shoved deep into his pockets, his chest tight. 3 years. 3 years since his mother's voice had been the last thing he heard before the door slammed. "You stole from me, Jeremiah. I can't do this no more. Get out." Now he raised a hand and knocked. The door creaked open, and Sarah stood there, older than he remembered, lines etched deeper around her mouth. Her eyes widened when she saw him. "Jeremiah?" He swallowed, nodded. "Yeah, Mama, it's me." For a moment she didn't move. Then she stepped aside, wordless, and let him in. The same living room couch sagged in the middle. The same lace curtains fluttered at the window. Jeremiah sat stiff on the edge of a chair, his mother across from him, arms folded tight. "I've been in rehab," he said finally, his voice steady. "1 whole month. I'm clean now." Her eyes narrowed slightly, searching him. "You serious this time?" He nodded. "I got work, too. Construction company. We build houses. Real houses. I'm learning carpentry, learning how to put something together instead of tearing it down." Silence stretched between them. Jeremiah's heart pounded in his ears. Sarah leaned back slowly, her lips pressed tight. But there was something softer in her eyes than when she first opened the door. "I prayed for you," she said quietly. "Even when I was mad. Even when I thought I'd never see you again." Jeremiah blinked hard, his throat thick. "I know I hurt you, Mama. I ain't proud of it. But I'm trying now. Trying to be better." Her arms unfolded at last. She reached across the table, laying her hand over his. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was something. For the first time in years, Jeremiah felt like the door hadn't just opened. It might stay open. Sarah poured 2 glasses of sweet tea and slid one across the table. "Clean or not, Jeremiah, you got a lot to prove." "To me?" "To yourself." Jeremiah nodded, bracing himself. "I know. You said things before. Promises. Apologies." Her gaze was sharp, steady, and then you'd be gone again. "But I see something different this time. Your eyes don't look lost the way they used to." Jeremiah shifted, feeling both pride and shame knot in his chest. "Rehab wasn't easy. I thought about quitting 100 times, but I made it through." Sarah sipped her tea, her hand trembling just a little. "You want a second chance with me? You don't get it for free. You earn it by showing up, by keeping clean, by building something that lasts." "I'm trying, Mama. I got a job now. Building houses. I can show you." She raised a hand. "I don't need to see no blueprints, Jeremiah. I need to see consistency. You show me 6 months clean, a steady check, and a life you ain't ashamed of, then maybe we'll talk about you sitting at my table on Sunday dinners again." Her words stung, but they also steadied him. Tough love, sharp as ever, but with the smallest glimmer of hope at the edges. Jeremiah swallowed hard and nodded. "I'll show you. I will." Sarah's face softened just enough for him to believe her when she said, "I hope so, baby. I really do." Sarah walked Jeremiah to the door, the porch light flickering above them. Before he stepped off the stoop, she touched his arm. "I'm glad you came back," she said. "Glad you're clean." "But, Jeremiah," she hesitated, searching his face, her voice soft but firm. "Rehab's good, work's good, but it ain't enough." "Not on its own," Jeremiah frowned. "What you mean?" Her eyes glistened with conviction. "You need God if you don't stay on the straight path. That's the only way. He's the one who'll keep you steady when everything else slips." Jeremiah shifted, his throat tight. Memories of church pews, the deacon's heavy hand, his mama calling him a liar. They all pressed in at once. He wanted to tell her faith was where it all broke for him. But looking into her eyes, so full of certainty, he couldn't bring himself to say it. He only nodded. "I hear you, Mama." Sarah gave his arm a squeeze. "Don't just hear me. Think on it. Pray on it." As he walked down the cracked path toward his car, Jeremiah knew this was only the beginning. Sarah's faith was unwavering, and sooner or later, he'd have to face it and decide what it meant for him. Steam clouded the bathroom near, water drumming steady against the tile. Sheldon pressed Jeremiah against the shower wall, their mouths locked in a hungry kiss. Jeremiah's hands curled around Sheldon's shoulders, his skin slick and hot beneath the spray. For a moment, the world outside didn't exist, just the rush of water, the press of bodies, the illusion that this was real, lasting, theirs. But Jeremiah broke the kiss, his breath ragged. "How's everything at home?" Sheldon smoothed a hand down Jeremiah's chest, his voice low. "Good. Denise doesn't suspect anything." Jeremiah closed his eyes, leaning his head back against the tile. "I'm starting to feel guilty." Sheldon caught his chin, forcing him to meet his gaze. "It's the only way we can be together. You know that." The words should have reassured him, but they didn't. Jeremiah's chest tightened. He wondered how much longer he could live like this, hiding, waiting, feeling like half a man. When the water finally ran cold, Sheldon dried off quickly, buttoned his shirt, knotted his tie. The mask slipped back into place as easily as it always did. "I'll call you," he said, slipping money onto the dresser like punctuation. Then he stepped out into the night. What neither of them knew was that, across the street, parked in the shadows, a man sat with a long-lens camera. The shutter clicked quietly, capturing Sheldon's figure leaving the studio, collar still damp, his silhouette unmistakable. The private investigator had his proof. Denise sat in the back booth of a quiet diner, her hands wrapped around a cup of untouched coffee. Across from her, the private investigator slid a manila envelope across the table. "You might want to brace yourself," he said. Denise opened the flap and pulled out the photos. Each one was sharp, unmistakable. Sheldon in his tailored suit, stepping out of a studio apartment, his shirt collar damp, his tie hastily knotted. Her chest tightened, but her voice stayed steady. "Where is this?" "Small complex downtown," the investigator said. "Units rented under a Jeremiah Cole, 23 years old." Denise's brow furrowed. "Jeremiah," he nodded. "But he's not the only one living there." He flipped another page in his notebook. "There's also a girl, 19, Ania Johnson." The name hit her like a stone. "Jeremiah," she repeated. "That's the client, the one suing the police force. Sheldon said he was unstable, that he needed rehab to look good in front of a judge." The investigator leaned forward, his tone matter of fact. "Jeremiah's not a client. No case, no lawsuit, no trial. I checked the court records myself. Nothing. Whatever your husband's been telling you, it isn't the truth." Denise's hand tightened around the coffee mug. Slowly, the pieces locked into place. The missing money, the long nights, the excuses about clients and cases. She looked down at the photographs again, her jaw tightening. So he used Jeremiah as a cover story? And that girl, Ania, he's having an affair with her? The investigator didn't answer. He didn't need to. Denise slid the photos back into the envelope, her face a mask of calm over the storm boiling inside. "Thank you." That'll be all. When the investigator left, she sat alone with the envelope in her hands. Her suspicions had been right all along. Sheldon wasn't just hiding money. He was hiding an affair. And now she knew exactly who he was having it with. A gravel road opened under oaks, dust lifting behind them. They rolled past a weathered barn and a white rail fence, the smell of sun-warmed hay and leather slipping through the open windows. Somewhere close, a horse blew out of breath like a low trumpet. Sheldon slowed to a crawl, tires crunching over gravel, and pulled into a small lot tucked against a row of pine trees. Sheldon eased past the white rail fence into a small lot, half pickups, half family sedans, and cut the engine. With that shy, proud smile he got when he planned something right. Jeremiah didn't realize it was an actual plan until the pasture came into view. 2 horses watching from the fence. "You serious?" he laughed once. "You brought me way out here in the boondock to ride a horse?" "Trail horses," Sheldon said. They clock more therapy than half the city. Inside the barn, high roof, light laced through slats, dust floating like somebody shook glitter. Tasha in a ball cap met them with 2 helmets and a Yorin good hands grin. "Y'all ever ridden?" "More than a few times," Sheldon said. "Been a minute, though." Jeremiah shook his head. "I'm a city boy. We got liners for under the helmet," Tasha said, already pulling them. "You'll be fine." They met the horses. Booker, thick-necked and steady. Olive, kind-eyed and nosy. Tasha went over reins and stirrups. Jeremiah's first mount looked like a baby deer learning gravity. "Relax your hips," Tasha coached. "They got 4 legs and a brain. Your job is to breathe." Sheldon swung up smooth in his seat, like he'd left pieces of himself in saddles years ago. From his saddle, he checked Jeremiah's girth, the way you check a baby's car seat. Competent, careful. "Heels down," he murmured. "Hands soft. Let her walk you." They started behind Tasha, the trail, a ribbon of red clay and pine needles. Cicadas sawed the afternoon. A creek flashed right, full from last night's rain. "Eyes up," Sheldon called, falling into step beside him. "Horses feel what you feel." Jeremiah loosened his hands. Olive's ears flipped back like she approved. "Okay," he breathed. "I get it." They passed a family coming the other way. 2 little girls in sparkly helmets. A dad grinning wide. Everyone traded their quick southern hellos. A deer burst from the brush, whitetail flagging. Olive thought about spooking and decided against it. At the creek crossing, Tasha turned in her saddle. "Loop splits up yonder. Y'all can take the long, shady stretch if you want your own space. Meet back at the trailhead lot in 4-5. Sheldon's yes was a look to Jeremiah, offering the choice, not assuming it. "Yeah," Jeremiah said. "We'll take the shade." They followed the side loop under poplar and oak till the world went cool. The air was 10 degrees kinder here. Olive drank, Booker breathing steady, unbothered by the job. Sheldon swung down first and tied Booker's reins to a low branch, then reached for Olive with the rider's quiet hands. "Hand down," he said to Jeremiah. "Steady. Toe out." "I gotcha." Jeremiah slid to the ground, that new muscle wobble in his thighs, laughing under his breath. "I'm gonna feel this tomorrow." "You gonna like feeling it," Sheldon said, and it sounded like a promise about more than saddle muscles. In the heart of the forest, Sheldon led Jeremiah off the well-trodden horse trail, seeking a secluded haven. They discovered a hidden meadow, a small stream meandering through the verdant expanse. They stood in the green quiet while the creek whispered over rocks. Sheldon seized the moment, his hands wrapping around Jeremiah's waist, pulling him into a kiss. "Tell me what you want," he said, voice gone low like a prayer he'd learned quiet. Jeremiah touched the heat at Sheldon's throat, the steady pulse. You, he said simply. Here, like we ain't hiding. His fingers began to unbutton Jeremiah's pants, but Jeremiah hesitated, pulling away. Sheldon, not here, he whispered, his voice laced with concern. Why not? Sheldon murmured against his lips, his breath warm and inviting. No one can see us. Jeremiah's resolve wavered, and he surrendered to the moment, his lips meeting Sheldon's once more. Clothes fell to the forest floor, discarded and forgotten. Sheldon took both of their hardened lengths in his hands, stroking them in unison, eliciting a deep moan from Jeremiah. Feels so good, Jeremiah murmured, his voice a mix of pleasure and surrender. Sheldon released his grip, his hands cupping Jeremiah's cheeks, drawing him into a deep, passionate kiss. Jeremiah mirrored his actions, their bodies pressing together, their hardened shafts rubbing against each other, the tender crowns grinding in unison. The friction built, their breaths coming in ragged gasps, until they reached climax, their bodies tensing as they exploded, their seeds spilling down their legs, marking the damp earth below. They held each other, panting and breathing hard, their lips locked, their bodies entwined in the aftermath of their shared ecstasy. Okay? Sheldon asked, brushing Jeremiah's jaw with his thumb. More than okay, Jeremiah said, voice rough and bright. He kissed him once more, smaller. You really out here trying to heal me with horses and daylight? Trying to meet you where you said you wanted to live, Sheldon answered. They cleaned up with the creek's cold water, then put themselves back together. Sheldon adjusted Jeremiah's helmet liner without comment, then checked the knots at the reins, like the world hadn't tipped. They mounted, Sheldon up in one clean motion, Jeremiah following with new trust in his own body, and eased back into the loop. Tasha's tank mare came into view. She lifted a hand, pleased they'd found the shade, and not trouble. They rode abreast for the last stretch, Booker plodding like a foreman, Olive with her head high, watching everything. The light slanted through pine trunks and gold stripes. Jeremiah's thighs would talk tomorrow. He kind of looked forward to hearing them. At the mounting block, Tasha caught their reins. Look at y'all, she said, nodding, coach proud. City boy and still got it done. Might be country adjacent now, Jeremiah said, grinning. In the barn shade, Sheldon unclipped Jeremiah's chin strap slow, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Cool air hit Jeremiah's scalp. Hungry? Sheldon asked. When am I not? Jeremiah said, but nothing fancy. I still smell like Olive. Best barbecue 10 miles down the road, Sheldon said. Cash only. Paper towels on the table. They ate at a picnic table outside a wooden shack with smoke for welcome sign, white bread, pickles, and ribs that came apart. They didn't talk about hard things. The conversation was light and sweet, passing a napkin across the table, laughing at the ridiculous names people give horses, admitting Atlanta's still country at the edges. You're different, Sheldon said finally, soft. Quieter. In a good way. I ain't standing on a lie every hour, Jeremiah said. That helps. Keep not standing on lies, Sheldon said. I want to meet you there. Jeremiah studied him the way you look at a place you might want to live. Then, keep bringing me outside, he said. Daylight sits right on us. They didn't kiss before leaving. Didn't need to. Later, Jeremiah texted a selfie, helmet hair smashed flat, and typed, I rode a whole animal. Sheldon sent back a wrinkled receipt with Olive circled, proud of you. Jeremiah saved the text message. The night smelled like cut grass and something new replacing it. For once, that felt like enough, and like the start of something more. Denise sat at her vanity, the manila envelope resting on her lap like it weighed 100 pounds. She flipped through the photographs again, each image of Sheldon walking out of the studio apartment, tightening the knot in her chest. Proof, yes, but not enough. She knew the prenup by heart. If she filed without cause, she walked away with nothing. That was Sheldon's father's handiwork. The old man had insisted on protecting the Brown family's assets, suspicious of the young woman who had fallen in love with his promising son. Sheldon, ambitious and eager to appease, had signed without question. Denise, naive but in love, had signed too. Back then, she believed in his dream as much as he did. She'd set aside her own ambitions, the career she might have built, to keep their home running while Sheldon clawed his way into Atlanta's elite legal circles. She ironed his shirts, typed his papers, held his hand when verdicts went south. And now, he was risking it all for a barely legal teenage girl in a studio apartment. Her jaw set. She wouldn't walk away empty-handed, not after everything she'd given, not after everything she'd lost. She picked up the phone and dialed the investigator. The pictures you gave me, she said, her tone cool, they're a start, but I need more. I need something undeniable. What kind of proof are you looking for? The investigator asked. Proof that this isn't business, she said, her voice low and sharp. I need them together, not just leaving a building. I need photographs no judge can dismiss. There was a pause. Then the investigator's voice came back steady. Understood. If he slips again, we'll have it. Denise hung up and sat very still, the envelope in her lap. She felt no guilt, no hesitation. She had supported Sheldon long enough. If he thought he could write her out of the life she helped him build, he had another thing coming. She would get her proof, and then she would take everything he tried to protect.